Welcome to Hawksong Weaving. Today I'll be talking about my small studio setup, unexpected critical tools to my weaving work, storage, and the benefits and detriments of studio cats. Get ready for cute cat content and lots of mason jars. Life takes odd turns, but even tattered and worn yarn still has value. Tired joints and health flares don't have to stop the journey. Welcome to Hawksong Weaving, where all our paths are a little bit warped. Scissors are one of the most used tools in any crafting, and I feel that they don't get talked about enough. There are always the stories of the person who used their partner's crafting scissor for something heinous, but it's so understood that for beginner crafters, it can be seen as just a meme, rather than the deeper value that a good pair of scissors can have. These are my good shears. I don't tell people how much I spent on them, but a hint is that I spent most of a tax return on them in my early 20s. Now, I was making peanuts in my early 20s, but that's still a significant chunk of change. I use these constantly in my weaving, for both dicing the trimmings from weaving projects into filling for my scrappy sachets, or for getting an even trim on fringes. These shears are incredibly sharp and heavy, which means that they're great for both lots of fine mincing or that clean shot down a fringe, but their weight makes them harder to use for active weaving. For most of my active weaving, i.e. my adaptive warping or changing the weft, I'll use a simple pair of Dollar Tree scissors, or you could use a pair of embroidery scissors. The Dollar Tree scissors are lighter, easier to handle when I'm balancing a loom on my lap, and can be used for paperwork, i.e. cutting out tags for vending and wrapping for orders. Something that also gets looked over an awful lot is scrap yarn. It's really useful. Part of my brand, my spiel, is that my weaving is zero waste. So much yarn and clothing fibers ends up in landfills. I originally started saving my scraps in mason jars to keep them out of reach of Penelope Calico. She was rescued from a hoarding situation as a kitten, and as a result, when she's stressed, she eats things that are not food. So they turned into the filling for my scrappy sachets, which are the bulk of my income. Yes, there are the nice shawls and scarves, but having smaller, easy to produce, cheaper products is where most of the moolah comes from. And a quick preview of the benefits and detriments of studio cats. Yes, I see you, Miss Belleth. Another one of the non-loom items I use the most, as in it's absolutely critical, is my heavy stoneware bowl. As seen before, I use this to mince my scrap yarn, but it's incredibly versatile for both deconstructing thrifted jewelry for my e-reader sleeves and felted fancies, or as a yarn bowl to hold the warp yarn as I do my adaptive warping. This bowl really does it all. The spout is perfect for pouring beads. Be more patient than I was, you'll see that in just a second. And the handle means I can sling it around and have better grip on days that my hypermobile hands aren't cooperating. This trunk is where I store most of my yarn. I got this off of Craigslist for free, along with a smaller one I keep elsewhere in the apartment. A long-term project is to strip the latex paint off of both of them. This thing is massive. It holds so much yarn. I prefer to ball all of the yarn I get from thrift stores or secondhand yarn from other artists. It helps me get a feel for what condition the yarn is in, get rid of any tie points that would interrupt a warp, etc. But it is less efficient to store it balled up, hence why I have so much room in this trunk. I try to keep my yarn in color-coordinated baskets and bags within the trunk, just so I can find what I'm looking for. Blues and greens, reds, oranges, and yellows, browns, blacks, and whites, purples, and pinks. This trunk also doubles as a sitting spot for my partner when she's taking a break from her own work, IT engineer, she works from home too, and talks to me while I'm weaving. Her face will be seen even less than mine in these videos, but she makes her presence felt in delightful ways during my weaving. She's so sweet and gentle with Hades' himbo as he gets used to trusting her as his mama. She'll snuggle with him as they watch the birds and act as a counterweight. When she has to go back to work, she'll drape my sweater over him to make up for the break in petting, and she'll give him the catnip pickle when he's feeling fresh and going after my warping. For a lot of my open storage, it's things that can be kept in jars or boxes that the studio cats won't get into. The box full of weaving blanks that will get turned into other projects, my yarn winder, a heavy ceramic jug for my spare shuttles, and the good scissors. The boxes are from my partner's mother sending us food during the holidays. I've turned them inside out so that the pretty patterns are on the outside. The smaller ones are mostly for further mason jar storage. I prefer mason jars because they're clear, uniform, and you can get them cheaply over time at thrift stores and build up a mason jar army. They're great for notions storage, like zippers, safety pins, buttons, snap buttons, tags for vending. The sky is the limit. Other boxes serve similar notion storage along with the adaptive warping materials. The open storage has my other yarn winder, my sewing box, and larger mason jars for storing dried lavender, pumpkin spice, rosemary, and peppermint for the scrappy sachets. I got this set of drawers free on the side of the road. It holds more weaving blanks that have yet to be sewn, scrappy sachets or pillows that have yet to be filled, and lining fabric for my e-reader and zipper bags. I'd like to thank you for sticking around this long. If you'd like, please feel free to hit that follow or subscribe button. It really helps feed the algorithms and show my content to other folks. But let's be honest, the primary function for this set of drawers is a sleeping spot for the cats. This keeps them out of my weaving blanks and yarn and gives them an excellent perch from which to judge me. Belith also uses the sleeping spot to keep an eye on me, but Penelope enjoys the bedding as well. A heads up that results may not be universal depending on the lack of brain cells. But brain cells aren't needed to be an excellent counterweight and eye candy. Let's talk about the benefits of studio cats. Hades' himbo is very sweet about his OSHA and HR duties. He'll be gently pushy if I need to take a break, but mostly just wants to enjoy my company. With occasional bouts of jealousy that I'm using the only box that he can fit in as my loom. Penelope Calico, on the other hand, is my unlicensed, untrained medical alert cat. Basically, she's a calico with opinions on my heart rate and is happy to scream them at me and get in my face when she feels necessary. They definitely have different approaches to the same job. With the dichotomy between diva calico and sweet himbo, it just can't be overstated. I also have storage underneath my desk, including my drawer of other artists' yarn. The other drawers in that set are a mix of vending supplies and junk drawers, then the box for my jewelry and metalworking kit, and this set are personal art supplies for my nieces and nephews and household paperwork. On top of my desk, I have my medications. If you have POTS, I highly suggest Clairolite. Not a sponsor, it's just made a huge difference in quality of life. The leftover storage for my life as a library director. The bowl fits perfectly underneath this shelf. And I have a Xerophil guarding my business receipts, Crowley guarding my D&D dice. The lamp I got when I was 10, isn't that neat? And my inspirational art. That helps me get through things when my body isn't cooperating the way I want it to. Thank you for spending time with this video. What does your studio or crafting space look like? Feel free to let me know in the comments. I do read them all and try to respond promptly. If you'd like to see more of my work, feel free to follow on my social media. I've linked it below. And if you want to purchase anything, head over to the Hawksong Weaving Square site. As always, I'm so glad for the odd turn your life took that brought you here, and thank you for spending time with Hawksong Weaving, where we're all a little bit warped.